Good morning. Welcome to Conversations with Carla. Today is Monday, April 11th, 2020. Good morning. This is Carla Harris, and I am with the People Institute. And today we are bringing you Conversations with Carla. And I am excited to talk today about eating food. I love food. I love good food. And today we have vegan chef Angelique Santana, and her company is called Food is Love, forgive me. And she is also the author of the book, Food is Love. So today I want to ask you, vegan or vegetarian? Do you eat to live or do you live to eat? So I'd like you to join the conversation as we do every Monday, and let's find out from Angelique. So here we are. Angelique, how are you?
Hi, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being a part of Conversations with Carla. And we're going to just have a quick talk. I see you're there in your kitchen. So today you're going to cook something for us.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. So tell me, why are you cooking vegan, or why are you a vegan chef?
So in 2012, I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I did a 1-year health coach program. And at the time, I was 50 pounds heavier than I had ever been. And so like halfway through the program, I decided that I was going to experiment. And so I did a 28-day vegan challenge for myself, and I lost 25 pounds. And so it just like really started to change the way that I thought about food, the way I thought about eating, preparing, and living. And so I've been on the path gradually changing my diet over that first 2 years. But I remember I went to eat regular food after the 28 days, and it just wasn't the same. So
really. So what would you say the top benefits of having a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle?
So the definite benefits are, if you haven't ever eaten that way, depending on, number one, weight loss. It's a big weight loss aid. It reduces inflammation, and it also has the ability, dependent on where you're at, but to either prevent, manage, or reverse certain diseases. And so there are a lot of benefits.
Okay. So vegan or vegetarian, what's the difference?
So a vegetarian is someone who still eats dairy, like all the milks, the cheeses, and eggs. And so, and a vegan doesn't consume anything at all that comes from an animal or a living thing.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the composition of the store-bought. So when in advance of this, you and I were talking, and I shared with you about my friend who is he doesn't quite eat a lot of, he does not completely vegan or vegetarian, but one of the areas that he wants to stay away from is the soy in the products. So Can you talk a little bit about, the soy base versus non-soy base? Is there a benefit to, pros and cons, that kind of thing?
I think there has been a lot of conversation about soy and estrogen, and especially like for women, who are going through their changes or having experience with like breast cancer or cancer in general. And so there was an article, I'll have to find it and send it to you.
Okay.
But the important thing to remember is So soy definitely is used in a lot of products, and especially early on in veganism, soy was a very big product to use, for mayonnaise, for cheeses and things like that. So, obviously everything is about a choice, and it's a personal choice, and you get to decide if you want to consume soy or not. I don't really consume a lot of it myself, but the thing to remember is to buy organic and to buy non-GMO. You don't want a genetically modified soybean. So as organic as possible, and you'll find it, especially at Whole Foods or a health food store.
Gotcha. So this year, or each year in January, I do a fast. And this year, I decided to go a little bit off the grid for my normal way of eating. And I am definitely not a vegetarian.
Right.
But I tried it for normally I do a 40-day fast with my church. But this time I went a little bit longer. I decided to do I went throughout fully February, the month of February. And I found that I felt better. I definitely some weight loss. But then, of course, this whole COVID-19 got me back into a normal eating habit, right? And I love to grill, and I cook outside a lot, and I cook on the open grill, open flame.
Yeah.
And I found myself creeping in. So once I'd have some chicken, and then I might, I never fully gave up cheese or all of dairy, and it was very hard. So how would you advise people like me who understand the benefits of it, but not necessarily all the way? I mean, are there some steps? Can we phase into it or things like that?
Absolutely. And you are my ideal client. I work with people who are not plant-based, like they're not vegan, they're not vegetarian, they're mainstream eaters. And so, first of all, definitely be kind and compassionate with yourself. And you have to really say to yourself, why am I doing this? Or why do I even want to do this? But there are some really simple things that you can do to swap out. And I think what you're saying here is that, if you've been eating one way for all this time, right, like chicken and fish and meat, what do you put in place of that, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like that mind frame is to maybe make the vegetables and the grains the main dish, right? And then everything else is a complement. But, just more fruits and vegetables, because it's not always about what can I take out of my diet. It's more about asking yourself, what is it that I'm not getting enough of, and incorporating that, because no one likes to be told what to do. No one likes to have things taken away from them. So I don't start off taking things away from you. And, obviously we'll discuss what the benefits are of taking certain things out of your diet, depending on where you're at and what your reasonings are. Do you have any real health concerns that that we need to address? But if at this point, you don't have any health concerns, you don't have cardiovascular disease, or you're diabetic or anything like that, then I would say, what is it that you're eating now? Take a look at what you're not getting enough of, and then we would add that. In our house here, I'm with my family, and everyone right now is except for my mom, non-dairy milk. She's drinking regular milk in her cereal every morning. But other than that, she loves the non-dairy cheese. She eats the non-dairy, the meatless burgers and beef crumbles. And so there's a vegan mayonnaise, a vegan butter. So there are a lot of things that you're eating right now that you can replace with a plant-based substitute, and then you're really not missing it at all.
Okay. So let's talk about taste, right?
Yeah.
So what is the taste like? Because we're a fat-rich society. what is this stuff tasting like? So am I going to just slather on some butter on a big hunk of French bread like I would, I would love to do. I love bread. So
Who doesn't?
what's the taste like? I know, who doesn't, right? That's like the thing right there. Take anything away from me, but give me my bread and my cheese
Yeah, and you can
and my
have bread.
wine.
Yeah, yeah, you can have bread. Most bread is like doesn't have milk, but there are some that do, and egg, of course. But um, so you said it actually. The main thing that you said when you started that sentence was fat. So that is the biggest difference. Fat content will definitely change the flavor because fat adds tons of flavor, but it also adds tons of complications to your lifestyle. So,
Don't I know it?
yeah, saturated fat is the number one killer, right? Cheese is the highest in saturated fat of any other food that you could possibly eat. So people, yeah, I know. And then there are some cheeses that are higher in the fats and some that are lower, but that is a flavor component. And so when you start to strip that away, here's the thing that I notice with my clients. There's tons of flavor in the food that I prepare, in the recipes that are in my book. It's probably one of the number one things, besides how simple the recipes are, is that they taste good. So you're not missing anything except for the things that you're wanting to take out of your diet, right? So flavors there, and there are a lot of different brands out there with plant-based items, and not all of them taste great, but it's a choice, a preference, and your flavor profile. But the thing that ends up happening when you start to eat this way is that you're actually starting to cleanse not just your body, but your palate. And so you can actually taste things differently because you're not consuming as much fat and not a lot of oils. So those oils, they're like disruptors for your taste buds. And so when you start to take that out, you start to actually taste food for what it really is and not all the butter and the fat that we put on it.
Interesting. Okay, so we do have some folks in the chat, so I'm loving that.
Okay.
So David says he has enjoyed the Impossible Whopper, but his question is, so the Impossible Whopper with cheese is bad. That's interesting, David. So what's your thought? Does that, excuse me, does adding cheese to an Impossible Burger completely defeat the purpose?
It does not completely defeat the purpose. And so you just had a vegetarian meal, basically.
Okay.
That's what it means. It's meatless, which I think is a good thing. If you're a mainstream eater and you got the Impossible Whopper with cheese, that's fine.
Gotcha.
Like, what's the intended purpose, right? To give up the meat, maybe not the cheese. Like you said, it's vegetarian.
Vegetarian, but not vegan. Right. Okay.
Right.
So if you have any questions for Angelique, just send them in here. But right now, we're going to start cooking. So today is a little bit different for Conversations with Carla, and in this little bit of time that we have. But Angelique has invited us into her kitchen, and she is making her famous mac and cheese. So I'm gonna click yes for the chat, and I'm gonna include the recipe.
Okay.
I'm putting the recipe in the chat. So let's talk about what you're cooking for us this morning.
So we're doing a simple mac and cheese. We're cheating a little bit because I was telling Carla you could make cheese from nuts and soy, like I said before, but this mac and cheese, families love it. Okay, kids love it. I'm using a plant-based cheddar from 365, which you find at Whole Foods. And we're just going to throw this in here. I have already cooked the pasta, so you don't have to wait for me to do that. The only thing is that you're not here to eat it with me after we're done.
Right, I know. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
So while Angelique is putting her pot together, so I want to tell you that I made this over the weekend for Mother's Day for my daughter, who is a macaroni and cheese connoisseur. And I want to show you my outcome. Well, I'll show you my outcome after she finishes hers. So Glenn, Angelique says that his granddaughter lives on mac and cheese.
Okay.
Marty says that her kids love mac and cheese. So guys, I put the recipe from Angelique in the chat. So try it, and then once you've made it, post pictures in the chat. It won't be live, but at least we'll all see it. So tell us what you're doing there, Angelique.
Okay, so I added the cheese in there. I added some oat milk, which there are a bunch of different brands. This one is the 365. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of Whole Foods. And so basically adding the liquid to the cheese helps to melt it. I have the flame on pretty high so we can cook faster today. And then seasoning, right? It's seasoning and coloring. So for sure you need some salt. I have some sea salt here. I think I put in the recipe 1 teaspoon. I'm not measuring today, like this morning. And then some garlic powder, sea salt, garlic powder. I add smoked paprika.
I love smoked paprika.
Me too. It's my favorite. And I put this in not just for flavor, but also for color. It actually helps to turn the mac and cheese a little more orange.
Okay. So now I have a quick question. So I love fresh garlic. So when I made it over the weekend, in place of the garlic powder, I used fresh garlic cloves.
Yes.
It was yummy.
Totally fine. I actually, when I first made this recipe, I used fresh garlic as well. But again, I just tried to make it a little simpler, a little quicker, for like mainstream people who usually make mac and cheese with some powdered cheese sauce and, pasta and stuff. So just to be a little bit faster. So it's melting pretty good. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yes, and then, it looks nice and creamy.
Nutritional yeast.
Talk to us about the nutritional yeast.
Okay. So we add a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. It adds a cheesy flavor, but also if you're someone who is vegan and you're not consuming any animal proteins, you're not getting a B12 supplement. And so B12 is pretty important for your nervous system. And so if you're not taking a multivitamin, you're probably not getting it either. And but again, for cooking, it's a non-active yeast. It's dried, and it adds a
what about people who have yeast allergies? Will that, because it's a nutritional yeast, does that have a different impact?
Yes, it should not have any effect on them because it's not active yeast.
Okay, good. That's good. So that looks yummy.
Like literally, I'm done.
Oh my gosh, that took you like what, 5 minutes?
Yeah. So really hot, you want to always start with a hot pot or a hot pan.
Okay.
So.
And what kind of cheese? What flavors of cheese did you use?
I only used one. I know you did a 4 cheese, but I just used cheddar.
Okay.
But believe it or not, I mean, cheese has gone super wild in the plant-based community. You can get smoked Gouda, cheddar, Parmesan. You could even get, like, if you're going to make tacos, they get the Mexi blend and things like that. So there really are so many substitutes. You don't even miss it. I don't miss it.
Yeah, I used the one I made over the weekend. I did a cheddar, a mozzarella, and a smoked Gouda. So Renette Emerson, she says that they serve it with a side of broccoli.
Yes.
Connie agrees with me. She puts in her fresh garlic as well. Let's see. Who else? Let's see. David says, good to know about the cheese for the Whopper. Renette also says that we have found our taste buds change completely, and she's enjoyed experimenting with new flavors and foods.
Awesome.
This is wonderful.
I like to add broccoli too. So what I do is I'll chop it up. I was going to do it for this morning, but I got a little lazy yesterday to prep it. But I'll chop it up, saute it, then I'll use some like fresh garlic in there, and then I'll mix it in. I'll keep it on the side in case somebody doesn't like the broccoli part.
Okay.
But yeah, this is it. And then, you taste it, and then you can add a little bit more of whatever you need, like if you need more salt, or I like black pepper.
Yeah. That looks yummy.
Yeah,
so yesterday I baked mine. So when you sent me the recipe, you talked about putting like panko or mixing in other things. So yesterday I did a panko crusting, and I'm going to show you the picture in a minute. So yes, David, I was cooking on Mother's Day. So Scott Elmore has commented. He says, what type of pan are you using?
So normally I would use a pot, right? Like this pot. I could do my pasta in here, which I did. And then I do have a smaller one, a smaller pot like this. But I use like it's not a saute pan exactly, but you could use any pan that you want, as long as I did this more so you could see, because it's not as high.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm moving the camera anyway, but so
it's really creamy.
Yeah, it's super creamy. And then you put it in the fridge and it may get like sticky. So when you heat it back up, I put it back in a pan. I add a little bit of more oat milk, stir it up, and that's it.
So
you can bake it in the oven.
Is it better to do a reheat on the stove top versus the microwave?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of microwaves, right?
Gotcha.
I know that they're super convenient, and like every once in a while, it's not that I never use it, but like 99.999% of the time I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm drinking coffee and I've let it sit for too long, then maybe I will. But I have a hot water kettle, so sometimes I'll just add hot water to it. But I like to do it on the stovetop. It's quick. I know you have to like do dishes and things like that, but I just like the way it tastes.
Yeah.
So just make yourself a little bowl. You're all set to go.
Good. So folks, here we are. This is my outcome. So you can see I baked it in a big dish. This is kind of like, excuse me, the size that I use when I make my mac and cheese anyway. So I put it in the oven because I wanted it to have that look. Now my daughter is the mac and cheese connoisseur. She says, okay, Mom, I'm going to try it. But then I will tell you, she says, well, what are those squares on top? And when I got the cheese, I got a smoked Gouda, which came in the slices. So while I cooked it in the mac and cheese, I also put it on top because I wanted it to sort of melt down into the pasta. So she had it yesterday. The outcome was she liked it. I can't say she loved it, but she liked it. So we will see what happens when we are eating leftovers for dinner tonight and see what she says. But I am super excited. Thank you for being with us. Now, before I end, I always ask, what are the top 3 things you would leave us with as it relates to eating better?
All right. I said it a little bit earlier and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. But, the number one thing is that you do get to choose how you go about your personal journey. And it's little by little. Baby steps is fine. Mm-hmm. And then the healthy swaps, you know, the things that you can do to kind of remove like regular butters and mayonnaise and cheese. Like there are definitely alternatives. And if you do have questions about that, you could definitely send me a direct message or a text or call, and I would be happy to answer. And then the other thing is, again, adding things to your diet, like adding more of what you're not getting rather than taking things away from yourself, like saying to yourself, oh, I shouldn't eat this steak, or I shouldn't eat this burger, or I shouldn't eat chicken, or the shoulds, just, you know, yeah, you could say that, you could. And of course that would be a great thing for you to do. But fruits and vegetables, people think that fibers, that protein is the thing that they have to be looking out for. But really the number one ingredient that all of us do not get enough of is fiber. And you don't have to have a supplement like Metamucil to get fiber. You could just eat more fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
Those are my three.
Okay, perfect. So I want to thank everyone for joining us, and I posted in the chat, so you can get it now or you can get it a little bit later, the recipe for the mac and cheese. Angelique, this has been a lot of fun. This is different from any of our other conversations, so thank you so much for joining us. And folks, we will be back next week on Monday, same time, same place. Conversations with Carla. And let's just see, we got some other comments coming in. Perfect. Renette says, great tips. Thank you. Glenn says, thank you. Awesome tips. Thanks for sharing. But for those of you who want to join us every Monday live on Facebook, thank you so much. Angelique, you have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Absolutely. You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.